Good morning and welcome to the Up Zone, where understanding politics is made simple. We are your two hosts. I am Tisha S. Waddell, former City Council representative for the 3rd District in the city of Fayetteville, North Carolina. And this is the illustrious Mr. Elmer Floyd, former House Representative for the 43rd District in the state of North Carolina. Mr. Floyd, how goes all, sir?
Tish, I am doing well. I called Brightspeed, which had my hardline phone,
Hmm.
and I told them that I didn't have a dial tone, and I couldn't call and I couldn't receive. And I went through 4 or 5 persons that didn't speak English too well. And I did get an appointment to check my hardline out for August the 19th.
Now, are you being serious, Mr. Floyd, or are you?
No, I'm being serious. The earliest that they can get to me is August the 19th. So my creditors can't call
Wow.
me until August the 19th. And they asked me to the action will be from 8 to 5. So I will have to stay home from 8 to 5 to get
All
the
day
service.
long.
All day long.
Well,
Now this
Mr.
is
Floyd.
August the 19th now. I called Monday, told them that my service was out. So I called back
You can
since
get
I didn't
another
get the
carrier,
call.
Mr. Floyd. You can get another provider faster
Oh,
than
but I
that.
love this teach. I love this company. I mean, with the time, that you had to break the English barrier, and talking with the service center. I mean, I mean, they said that August the 19th. I mean,
It is
technology
what it
teach.
is. It is
It
what
is
it
what
is.
it is. So my creditors can't call me until August the 20th. So I'm
That's
doing
if they're
well,
able.
teach.
That's if they can prepare the issue. Mr. Floyd, I'm doing pretty
Yeah.
well myself. It's been nice and sunny outside. We've been having some really great weather. Mr. Floyd, I had the coolest call yesterday. I had the coolest call. As you know, I'm running for office. Matter of fact, we talk about it regularly. But Mr. Floyd, I was making some phone calls yesterday and I called somebody and they had such a violently negative reaction to hearing my name. We ended up on the phone for 50 minutes. And by the time, and this was the first like negative call that I had, by the time we got off the phone, Mr. Floyd, that individual wanted to donate to my campaign. They had offered me their thorough support. They wanted signs to put up and they were prepared to go and spread the word about who I
Well,
am.
well, teach. Some kind of way, I was anticipating of seeing that, that campaign sign. But once you put them
Oh,
glasses on, I forgot to ask. I forgot to ask you
I can
because it covered your
outline
whole face.
it.
It covers it covers your whole face. The glasses does. So I
That's so
forgot.
funny,
I
Mr.
was
Floyd. That's so
recognizing the
funny.
glasses. I would recognize the glasses and
You
before I got to
you do
that.
recognize that I want to be able to see what I have to read that we're talking about. I have to be able to see, Floyd. If I can't
But
see,
but why don't you? I mean, okay, now that's good. Thank you so much.
no
I
problem.
appreciate it.
No
But
problem.
that but those glasses, Chief, I mean, it takes up the whole stream.
I can listen. I can still see, but just not as well without them. But Mr. Floyd, like I was saying, I just really enjoy
Mhm.
being able to sell myself to somebody and be able to tell them what I'm about and who I am, and bring somebody who is completely anti Tisha S. Waddell into my camp, and that's what this is all about. So that's why I'm having such a great time talking to the voters and just really going through this process, Mr. Floyd, because when people don't know you and all they know is what somebody told them about you, it's different when they
Well,
get to know you.
my concern with any candidate, and
Hmm.
that including you, and we're on this program together.
Yes, sir.
There's 10 of you all running, not
Yes, sir.
one person.
Yes, sir.
Not one person. So each one of you all must present your platform and don't let individuals push you away and sidetrack you from that. So if you do that, then you lose what the voters want to know. What is your issues?
Absolutely. And Mr. Floyd, we also have to remember, I don't know if you used to remember seeing Eric Mays pop up on different stuff. He was
Hmm.
a council member in Flint, Michigan, and he was very abrasive. He was very unpolished, but he was for the people. So we have to also remember that abrasive, unpolished people do get elected because people want to see representation that reflects you're looking out for them. And so
Well,
we have to take all 10 of these candidates as serious contenders. We cannot discount and just take for granted that this election is wrapped up in the bag.
you
Why are
know
you
what, Tish?
laughing?
I met, I was talking with a candidate, and they was talking about a grassroots method, and they introduced themselves as doctor. Okay, now you talking about a grassroots campaign, and you first introduce yourself as doctor. I
But
leave
Mr.
it at
Floyd,
that.
let me say this. There's doctors in the trenches.
I mean, I understand that, but that there's a certain place that you carry the title, you know. And now, a grassroots person don't understand you between a doctor and an auto mechanic.
Right.
You say, but anyway, that's let me get to my announcement. I don't want to
Let's
lose.
get to the announcements. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But the Mojo Festival is going to be on the 28th of August, and it's going to be at Seabrook Park. So if you're able to attend, please do. And then you have the African American Caucus, as usual, in Wilmington. They are going to have well, two things that they did, and one was that they're going to have the 62nd anniversary breakfast at Ebenezer Baptist Church at 2929 Prince Place in Wilmington. That's the 62nd celebration. And then also, teach, if I may, you have the NAACP banquet. It's going to be on the 9th of September. I'm sorry, September 13th at Iron Mike on Fort Bragg. And you have the Vets Unlimited that's going to have their fundraiser at I think it's on August the 23rd at 4461 Camden Road. And
Hmm.
then, Tisha, I also want to say something, and I want to thank Cape Fear Valley for providing $900,000 to Fayetteville State Wellness Center over the next 2 years. And I'm
Absolutely.
proud, that Cape Fear uh, uh, is doing this contribution, because we talked about this briefly on the program last week, and that was because of a person like Robert Wilson, and also Representative Lucas, Representative George Graham, who is deceased now, Pierce, and myself got the first $5.5 million to start this effort. So the project is ongoing, and I think I sent you a picture
Hmm.
of the steel structure there,
Let's,
and it's going to be
let's show
located.
everybody that, Mr. Floyd,
Okay.
because I thought that was a really nice picture. Look, it's one of those pictures that just brings hope. Let's show that.
Yes. Yes.
But go ahead, finish talking about it while I'm pulling that up.
Now that's a commitment. That's what representatives are supposed to do, is to bring back projects and resources to your community. That's the structure that's going up. It started from an idea with the person that we had last week on our program coming to us, and he was an alumni, coming to us and said that most universities have this center for their athletes,
Hmm.
but Fayetteville State doesn't. So we was able to get these funding. So now that was in
Mr. Floyd, let me ask
2017.
you a question. And because I remember this conversation from my time on council. Mr. Floyd, do you remember when there was a conversation and a push under the former chancellor to co-locate this facility with Senior Center East?
Yes,
What happened
and
to
the
that
new
conversation?
chancellor did not want to do that. I mean, they wanted to be on Fayetteville State campus
Which
and
makes
not with the
complete and
fifth.
perfect sense.
Yeah. Well, it's another conversation that the council had with Fayetteville State and others was when Seabrook Auditorium was revamped. They wanted Fayetteville State to move that closer to downtown area, somewhere around by B Point. And Fayetteville State said, no, we want to enhance our university.
That's
So
right.
they spent that renovation dollars there to renovate
Mr. Floyd, what do these
Seabrook.
types of investments do for a university? For
What
the
it
for the
grows
for
to,
the Go ahead.
what it help with enrollment there, and also faculty, and also retention. So, and there are also economic engines that helps the community. You know, also. So I mean, with Cape Fear stepping up to provide this money over 2 years, because a lot of building, you know, are done through, yes, through state funding and other funding sources that the university can
Hmm.
uh, can attain in order to grow the university. So I think that it's a good idea when it came. But again, as I said to you, that's the responsibility of a legislator. There, it's just like again, John Soka. You know, he brought in about $54 million to help build the Civil War, the long title. I'm gonna say the Civil War Museum.
Civil
So
War History and Reconstruction Center.
thank you. I mean, he practically built that himself through efforts. And the year that I left, we had commitments to additional bring buildings to Cape Fear. I mean, I'm sorry, to Fayetteville State. But the following year, Kurt, Senator Ville, now chairman, was able to carry these forward because, you know, there was commitment made in the prior budget year that these things will come to Fayetteville State. But bear in mind, Tisha, and I'm gonna close with this. Bear in mind, you know, when I was in the General Assembly, we had two powerful persons in the General Assembly. One
Mhm.
was Senator Tony Rand, and the other one was Rick Glacier. Rick Glacier, and the third was Marvin Lucas, was chair of education. Rick Glacier was the appropriation chair of education, and
Mhm.
Fayetteville State got very little growth. So
Well,
I'm
Mr. Flynn,
glad to see,
no, I was
uh,
gonna say
you know,
I'm grateful to see the fruition of the efforts of the people who really pushed to put money into that university, and it's nice to see that portion of the corridor really getting some new life and some new buildings. Mr. Floyd, we do have a guest today, Mr. Nathan Click,
yes,
Dr. Nathan Click, and he is on the line. Let's go ahead and bring him in and get him introduced, sir. Good morning, Dr. Click. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you? Can you hear me?
We can hear you just fine. So
All right.
if you will go ahead and introduce yourself and give a brief background on what your organizational efforts are, we'll go ahead and start bombarding you with questions.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess I love being bombarded. Hey, my name's Dr. Nate Click, and I'm the chair of the People's Empowerment PAC. Our organization is we intend to set up a grassroots movement that empowers historically disenfranchised and minority communities, engaging them to elect and support candidates that truly represent them. So that's the 10,000 foot view, and I'm excited to drill down into more details. But that's what our pack is all about.
Absolutely. Where are you located, Mr. Click?
I live, work, and play in North Raleigh. Um, just 20 minutes up from Jones Street. That's where I live.
And where do your efforts reach to? So what's the scope of the community that you want to reach? Are you focusing mostly on the capital, or are you looking across the state of North Carolina, or are you looking nationally?
Yes. So we are starting small, and well, I should say starting medium, and working our way larger. Listen, Black and brown communities in North Carolina and outside of North Carolina, at least as far as politically and economically speaking, are taken for granted, right? And so our pack is to empower those communities, right? We want to shift political and economic power into those hands. So, we started North Carolina because this is our backyard, right? But the same problems we have in North Carolina, they got in Georgia, they got in Texas, they got in Nevada. Okay. And so we hope to branch out even beyond that. So in the 26 and 28 election cycle, we will probably be focusing on state legislative races in North Carolina, but we hope to, as soon as possible, move out into other states that have a minority majority makeup.
And what are some of the issues that you are looking for candidates to be highlighting in order for you to view them as a viable candidate for Black and Brown communities?
So, it's all about representation, right? Representation matters. Okay. So, you know, we want candidates that not only represent, but represent. Okay. And that's really what we're looking for. So the issues that we're zeroing in on are issues that affect our communities. When I ran for the House in 2022, I knocked on doors for 100 days and I just asked people what their major concerns were. And it almost always centered around economic issues, right? And so this sense of economic freedom, we're not free until we're economically free, right? And so um, we're talking about wage issues, we're talking about employment issues, we're talking about housing, we're talking about education. Education is a huge one. We're talking about access to healthcare and services, but we're also talking about the ability to be upwardly mobile within our economy. Okay. Um, access to entrepreneurships and those kind of things. Those are platforms that kind of speak to the needs of our community today.
So, Dr. Click, a lot of elected officials include those speaking points as platforms, but we don't ever see any real policy, and if we do see policy, we don't even ever see any real push behind that from those powers that be, and not just the powers that be that don't look like us, but even from the powers that be that look like us. So, what type of vetting would your PAC do to ensure that there would be power behind platform?
So, um, I'm going to answer that question kind of this way. This is what I go around and I talk to folks and I say, hey, this is what we have to understand about how the system how the system works. Um, we don't like to know how the sausage is made, but you got to figure out how the sausage is made in this case. So let's step back for a second. In America right now, we've got 3 elections. Okay. Now, people talk about the primary and the general. Those are the 2 that a lot of people know about. Almost everybody knows about the general. Some people think there's a primary. They might not vote in it, but they know it. They know it's there, right? They ought to vote in it. But there's one before that they don't invite everybody to. Okay. And I call that the money election. Okay. The money election is very important because that's where candidates get vetted, right? The folks who play in the money election are the donor table, and they're pushing hard money and soft money toward candidates, right? They don't really care about party affiliation too much. All they care about is who they can buy. Okay. And the problem we have in our communities is we are not
Wait,
playing.
pause right there. I need you to say that again. I don't want anybody to miss what
Okay.
you just said.
All right.
I need
So
you to run it again, Dr.
I'm gonna
Cliff.
run it again. They don't really care too much about what party you're in. All they care about is who they can buy, right? And I'll give you a personal example. When I ran for the House, I would go to these endorsement groups and they would say, well, hey, we want to see if we can, and they had on their websites the things that they cared about, be it abortion or human rights or whatever the issue is. Doesn't matter what the issue is. But when I would talk to them and I came prepared to talk about their thing, okay, whatever that thing was, they don't want to talk about that. All they wanted to know about how much money I raised and how much money I needed, right? And that was the bulk of the conversation. And I see Representative Floyd's heads going up and down, right? So he's experienced this, right? So they care about who they can buy and what leverage they can yield. Our people don't play strongly in the money election. Okay. And so what happens is we talk to folks and we let them talk to us, and they come to our churches and our get-togethers and they say, hey, I'm going to do this, that, and the third for you. Okay. That's what they say. And then we vote for them and we move along about our business. Well, we have no mechanism to hold them accountable to that, right? They ain't got to do this, that, and the third for nobody, right? Because we're not playing in the money election, right? So how do we vet these candidates? We participate in the money election, right?
So let me pause you because what it sounds like is shifting the buy. So is that essentially what that is? Because I'll say this. I know that there are right here in our community some Black candidates who have raised hundreds of thousands of dollars in the money game.
Hmm.
So if we follow the logic that's being presented, which is good logic, Dr. Click,
Hmm.
if we follow the logic, we can usually infer that they've been bought and paid for.
Well, yeah. So here's the sad truth, right? And I share this with my friends. I share this with my wife. People don't like to hear it because it makes them feel icky, and it should. Okay, it makes us feel icky. Um, in the United States, we take for granted that elections are privately funded, right? We just kind of take that for granted, right? So elections cost money. They just do. Maybe they shouldn't, but we got to fix that later. But right now, elections cost money. So unless you have a lot of it, you got to get it from somewhere. Okay. And the folks that are writing the checks are the folks who are getting the most attention. Our communities don't get the attention they need, that we need, because we're not engaging in that money election. And I'll tell you, when the folks who engage in the money elections, they're not dealing with questionnaires. They're not dealing with, well, how am I going to vet you? This is how they vet you. I wrote you a check. You're going to return my call. All right, write you no more checks. That's how the vetting works. Okay. And so we want to engage. We want to engage our community in that race. And I get
Now,
asked all the time.
Dr. Click, everybody is going to be coming for your head because you are saying the quiet part out loud.
I'm saying the quiet part. So
But
listen.
I appreciate you. You have my full attention right now because these are the things that we've been saying for a very long time. And I want to be wholly transparent with you and tell you that as a candidate in an upcoming election right now, and as somebody who ran for office and won twice, I've never played the money game, Dr. Click. And I think one of the distinguishers between a viable candidate that recognizes that you and Floyd and I were just talking about this, that recognizes the impact of the money game, and a viable candidate who relies on the impact of the money game is the desire to actually go out into the community and shift a change of public opinion by doing hard work. It's very hard to do that the larger the election. So when you start talking about, so I've gone from running a district wide campaign to now a citywide campaign,
Hmm.
which means that whereas I had to go out and knock on maybe 5,000 doors, I now have to go out and knock on 20,000 doors.
That's right.
And I have a much shorter window within which to do that because the election period is from July 18th and the primary starts in the middle of September. So you have a small window and a lot of ground to cover.
That's by
So that's
design, by the way. That's by
it
design.
is not. It is by
Yeah.
design. And so one of the things that we do at this podcast, and Mr. Floyd, I promise I'm gonna shut up and let you jump in. But but you got me excited, Dr. Click. One of the things that we do at this podcast is we try and educate our viewer so that they understand how to be able to spot a fraud from the real deal. Like
Sure.
just like how and this is so important, Dr. Click, because I'm gonna tell you one of the things that I've committed to is not taking any money from any special interest group, not seeking any endorsements because
Sure.
of exactly what you said. People are frustrated with the idea of bought and paid for. So, how are you going to distinguish your efforts from those efforts? Because I feel what you're saying and I see where you're going, and I'm with you so far. But just
Hmm.
tell me how you'll make that distinction because we don't want to shift bought and paid for from one pocket to another. So, how will you allow these candidates to remain independent and still be accountable because they're being funded?
So I was chatting with another one of our board members about this same topic, right? And what I told her is what we want to do is align the incentives so that people are incentivized to behave in the way we want them to behave. Okay. And she's well, Dr. Click, people should just do the right thing because it's the right thing. And I said, I wish they would, right?
I
But
will. I
you know,
will. I will. I
I
will.
wish they would, but you can't count on that. But what we can count on is if we align the incentives up such that the right thing matches the incentives, then we can count on people doing that thing. So that's why our PAC is funded. The vision is for our PAC to be funded by small dollar contributions. Well, I'm not going to say contribute. We don't say contributions. We don't say donations, right? We say membership dues. Okay. So by small dollar membership dues, right? And so folks join the PAC, and those dues get them something, right? We have loyalty rewards programs. You get discounts at the grocery store, discounts at restaurants, hotels, airfares, all of that built in to our model. Okay, so that's what a member of the PAC gets just by being a member. Okay, and because we're funded by the masses have control, right? Whoever writes the check has control. And so we set it up so that the incentives are that the masses are the ones writing the check, right? So now the incentives line up so that they're the ones in control, right? So the problem we have in our system right now is what I call the decision makers, right, are ran by the donor table, right? The upper 1 or
The
2% of the profit.
developers, the
Right, right,
builders,
right.
the realtors, the yes,
Yes, yeah.
the ors.
And so
Yeah.
that's the donor table, right? And so the donor table is separate from the voter table. The voter table aren't those. So what we're trying to do is shift the game so that the voter table
I
and the
see what you're
donor
saying.
table are the same table,
I see
right?
what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Mr. Floyd, what you got?
Well, so far so good,
So
so
good
good
so
so
far.
far. But
Go ahead, Floyd.
go to
No,
go down,
you
T.
go ahead, because I've been listen. I listen. Go ahead.
You know, as a former, representative, served 12 years in the General Assembly. I've seen some good, some bad, and some ugly as it relates to serving as a representative. But this PAC, how much money do you anticipate to get this PAC off the ground? Just not, I'm talking about just in North Carolina, because there is you must have a person in place, all year round in order to receive and make sure that all the accountability and the reports are made in a timely fashion. And the worst thing they want to do is to say that you didn't file the necessary reports in a timely fashion. So
Hmm.
staffing is a key. So how much money do you think it would take to get this pack off the ground in North Carolina and functioning?
So Representative Floyd is offering to write us a check. I appreciate that. I'll tell you how much money I think we need. Okay, our 2026 a strategy is focusing on select Senate races. We haven't decided which Senate races we want so far, but I think if we spread across 5 or 6 Senate races, given the history of the trail, it'll probably cost about a buck 50 per race. So $100 to $150,000 per race. Total that up, we're looking at just under total raise in 2026 and probably into 2028, just under $1 million. That's what we think that we would need, and we can get there mostly through folks joining the PAC. $10 a month adds up if you multiply it by a lot of people. And then in a few cases, we've got other activation strategies that will engage Black chambers of commerce, Black businesses, and et cetera. But the short answer to your question, between 800K and $1 million is what we're looking
Now,
at.
who in the state of North Carolina is, other than yourself, that's going to be sort of carrying this ball? The quarterbacks. I mentioned quarterbacks now.
Oh, as far as the leadership of the PAC, you mean? Is that what you're
Other
asking?
than other than yes, other than
Yeah,
yourself. As an
yeah.
example, you have a Senate minority leader, and you have a House minority leader, and you have a state vice president of the Democrat Party that is an African American. So, of this group and others, I mean, because they got to be someone of name recognition that's going to help bring this money into the PAC.
Yeah, so we've got the vice chair, one of the vice chairs of the party, Dr. Hardy is a board member. Okay, we also have Judge Morgan as a board member. Judge Thompson, Carolyn Thompson, is a board member. We've got, I think you are familiar with Representative Raymond Smith out of Goldsboro,
Yes.
Senator Erica Smith, who ran statewide, Those are also board members. So there's just a handful of the names of the people that we have that are
So
helping carry football.
these individuals are going to be out front helping raise, I'm gonna say, $1 million in order to provide you what you're asking for in the 26th
Well,
election, which is very short window, very short window.
It's reframing, right? It's a reframing of what we're saying. So not only are these individuals going out, stumping the grounds and working on fundraising and building the building the brand of the PAC, we're also engaged in recruiting efforts for individual contributions. Okay, so I really need to get us all to kind of reshape. This is one of the challenges we have now. Is a challenge because we're changing the way people think. In the past, people have thought, okay, we got to go get them to go raise money from other folks, right, and bring that into our community, right? I served in the military for 9 years, and a phrase that one of my commanders taught me, he said, Nate, the best helping hand is at the end of your own wrist. Okay, so our membership program is vital to the success of what it is we're doing. We need regular people, right? People who drive buses for a living, people who teach middle school for a living, people who work as secretaries for a living. We need regular people joining the PAC. That's where the bulk of our resources have to come from if we want to align the incentives such that the voter table and the donor table are the same people.
Dr. Click, I want to say something because I consider myself a regular person, very regular. And I want to say this. I don't know that regular people think it makes sense for, and I'm going to use our municipal elections as an example. I don't think that regular people think that it makes sense that a person would spend $50,000 in in campaign funds to secure a job that pays $20,000 for the next 2 years. I don't think that people think it makes sense for a candidate for a citywide election, regular people, that it makes sense for a citywide election for people to spend upwards of $100,000 of campaign financing to get a message out to secure a job that pays less than $40,000. I don't think people think it makes sense that when we're driving around in our 40, 50, $80,000 vehicles, that we're asking people who are struggling to maintain their household to give into a campaign when there are other organizations that could use this money to do the work that you're asking these politicians to push for to be done, that money could be given to. And I'm not negating what you're saying, but I think that the messaging has to be reshaped if you really want to reach the regular people, because regular people don't identify with campaign contributions because it just doesn't make sense to them.
Well, you are so Tish, you are 100% right about that. Regular people, and especially people in Black and Brown communities, do not identify with political contributions. Now, if I want to put a new roof on the church, okay, that's easy to raise money for. I mean, how many bake sales and barbecues y'all been to?
But it's easy, but it's also easy to identify with that because we have houses that we have to save money to put new roofs on for.
Right,
also.
exactly. It's easy to identify with. So, right. You are 100% right. As in political giving, that is not in our cultural DNA. Like we don't think that way. But we got to ask ourselves this question. Okay, we got to ask ourselves this question. It has to make sense to some people because it's being done in other communities.
But that don't make it right. And I think that's the thing that we're all challenged with, is the fact that we recognize the statement that you led with, which is essentially bought and paid for. And so most of us don't like that concept. And I'm not telling you this to disparage you. I'm telling you this so that I can give you an alternate perspective to consider as you go out fundraising. You're going to have to make it make sense, because to the regular people, it will never make sense under the construct that is being given, because what we want is people who are going into these seats and these offices who feel compelled to do the right thing, not because somebody is threatening to withhold funding, but because constitutionally they believe that this is the right thing to do.
Sure.
To be honest with us if they don't believe that, and don't just take our money because you need to buy an ad.
Sure. Yeah. And I get that sentiment. That is why when we say to join the PAC, that's why we created it as a membership program, right?
Yeah.
So folks can join and we've got people that are members of our PAC right now that, I said, hey, it's $10 a month and you get this, this discount program, you get restaurant deals and vacation deals. They're like, sure, I'll sign up for that. They are not politically engaged at all. Okay. But they understand that. They understand, okay, I give 10 and then I get, $200-$300 in savings over the course of the year. They get that for whatever reason that resonates with them. So that's why we set it up that way, because we knew going in that we were going to have a problem with political contributions from the masses unless we again, working with incentives, we incentivized the giving and rewarded the engagement.
How does that
Real time.
include them in the accountability process for those elected officials? Because if you're giving me a discount, that's not making me hold these people accountable. And we could do this all day. And I actually, Dr. Click, would want to connect with you offline, because I don't want you to feel like you came onto our program and I'm being combative, because that's not my aim.
No, you're asking good questions. You're asking really good questions, really good, strong questions.
But to connect, because I want you to really, I'm your target audience. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you why I'm your target audience. Because I am I'm politically astute, but I'm everyday people. Mm-hmm. And I'm the kind of person who I have disposable income. So I can afford to give to one of these organizations if the concept of the organization makes sense to me. Mm-hmm. But it has to make sense to me. And so I'm the person that you want to be able to convince to get involved, because I'm the one who's going to really push for that accountability. I'm not just going to get involved so I can get the discounts. I'm going to get involved to do exactly what you said from the beginning. I'm not saying I'm getting involved. Everybody, please let me be clear. I'm just saying, if I were to get involved with something like this, it would be for specifically the reason you said, which is to push for accountability to communities from their local and their state and their national representatives.
We have a mechanism for that. I'm glad you brought that up. So part 2 of what people get as a dues paying member of the PAC is access to a proprietary social engagement platform. Okay. This is an app you download on your phone, or you can engage with your desktop. We allow people to crosstalk with each other. They can set up their own groups, their own channels. They can have any conversation about any political issue. We take any legislative issue, any legislative platform. I think we've got it drilled down to at least the state level. It might be drilled down to the county level. Okay. And we translate current bills that are going on in the General Assembly right now, and we translate that into regular people talk, right? And so people can engage on that. You can push a button, send a note directly to your elected official, right? Send a message straight to them. Hey, we want this or we want that. And that platform it's growing and developing, but those are the features that it currently has right now. Full transparency, I don't own the platform. The PAC doesn't own the platform, but we do have an arrangement with the company that has created it. They're headquartered out of Miami, Florida. And the platform is called Moxy, MOXY. You can look them up. Our members have free access to this platform, and it is designed especially for engagement. Reason we did this, I engage with different types of folks.
I understand. I've been sitting here listening, to the two of y'all, and I live in a world, and I live in a world of reality, and have spent years in this field. And I understand about PACs, and I understand about the relationships, and I understand about money. But the reality is that North Carolina in itself, and what you're saying when you're looking at a salary between $44,000 and $56,000, I don't have that kind of money to give when I'm renting at $1,400 to $1,700 a month and has a car to get to work. Let's look at reality. Reality is that we have PACs in North Carolina that takes minority community for granted.
Oh yeah.
And so I don't see. So if you're talking about this kind of PAC, we need to have a conversation with Morgan Jackson, and the Democrat chair, and also the governor, and also the Senate minority leader. And they have a come to Jesus meeting and say to them, and a perfect example of that was the last election when there was $40 million into the Council of State PAC, and a third, 2/3 of that money went.
Can you hear me
Down.
still? Okay, there we
Okay,
go.
did not get it done. Yeah. Okay, but my thing of it is, I don't want you. I like for you to come back so we can continue this conversation. But right now, I don't see, it's being fruitful unless you change the way that you want to raise this money within by 2026 to have the candidate that you want to vet to be available. So, if we can bring you back to finish this conversation, if you're willing to come back, because I think it's good and it's something that's needed here. But I do think that it's high time for organizations like yours and others is to sit down with these individuals who are seeking our support to run statewide. That's my concern. I spent 12 years in the General Assembly and did not receive a dime. Well, I received $98 for the Democrat Party, but it cost me more money to get that, and I would have gave them a check for $100 than to go back and amend 3 reports. So my thing of, will you be willing to come back with us, to finish this conversation?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely willing to come back. Absolutely willing to come back.
And you can call me offline because I think sometimes one-on-one conversations are better because like I said, I don't want you to feel like I'm beating you up, but I'm your target demographic. So I want you to, if you feel comfortable, you talk to me and let's work through some of my hesitation so that you can understand how you might want to have those conversations with other people who feel like me.
That would be great. I would appreciate the time. I just want to leave with this one point. If we don't, as a community, come together, right, and do what we have to do to play in the money election, is what I said up first, everyone will continue to take us for granted. They take us for granted because we let them. We show up to vote because that's what we were told to do, GOTV, right? But we don't have an infrastructure that we can hold folks accountable to. We've got to build that infrastructure. We've got to come together and make that happen.
That's my concern, right? That's one of my concerns. That's one of my concerns. Why should we? In 2020, you didn't support the minority candidates. In 22 and 24, you didn't support the minority candidate.
Now it ain't me. You're talking about the Democratic Party, right?
No, I'm talking about you. You're part of. You're a part of this. So tell me, why should I have to do anything for you when you're gonna fall in line like my partner said a couple of weeks ago when the ducks were walking and the mother duck dropped, stepped over the grain, and all the other little ducks went in.
So just to be clear on that, this PAC is not part of the Democratic Party, right? So,
I understand that.
But 100% not part of this PAC is about building and strengthening the aforementioned communities that I said. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Why should folks engage when they feel like they've been betrayed and abandoned? I totally get that. That's why we came together to build this PAC. But we've got to come together and hold politicians.
But part of the people that you named are already part of that system.
Wait, pause, Floyd. Pause, because
Okay.
We're at almost at 45 minutes, and we have some other things we have to talk about. Dr. Click, I want to give you an opportunity to give your closing statement, and we are not going to interrupt you because we did not do a good job today being good listeners.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, again, communities in North Carolina, specifically Eastern North Carolina, out in Eastern North Carolina that are minority majority communities, right, are historically overlooked, not just by the Democratic Party, by the Republican Party, and everywhere else. We have got to organize these communities, not just the people on the back end. I call it the back end on the voting end, but also the front end. That's where the money election plays. We've got to organize both sides. If we do that, guys, there is more power at the bottom than there is at the top. And if we do that, right, there is no reason why every policy agenda, every piece of legislation, everything is led by our community, top to bottom. And that is our goal. That is what we are trying to do. And that's what we're trying to build with the People's Empowerment Pact.
Awesome. Well, Dr. Click, you make sure you let us know when you're ready to come back. We're going to work out all our kinks before we have you back because you gave us a lot. You put a lot in our heads for us to think about. I hope that our audience will absolutely engage with you. What's the best way for them to engage with you?
So go to peoplesempowermentpact.org, right?
Okay.
Just peoplesempowermentpact.org, all one word, and click the join button. Right, that's the best way to engage with us.
Get the information, vet the organization, ask all the questions you need to ask. And Dr. Click, we look forward to having you back again.
All right, thank you. You guys be good.
You're welcome. You too. Bye bye.
Okay.
Cheers.
Now, Mr. Floyd, let me say this. I don't like the concept of PACs. I think PACs are I think they're problematic for the first reason that he identified, which is bought and paid for. So that's a huge hurdle. I think that $1 million would be better spent to engage with voters, to teach them how to follow the legislation. Because if you teach people how to think through this process, which is what we try to do every week, then you empower them to not have to hold people accountable with their money. You can hold them accountable with something that doesn't cost you as much, but it still is valuable, which is your vote. Because we keep electing people who do not do the work.
Well, teach. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make any difference in the community in which I live. I simply like that hat. I don't care if it's pink, whatever it is, I like it. So I'm going to buy that hat. So in the minority community, it really doesn't make any difference. We vote for who we like. It doesn't make it whether or not you deliver for my community. I still got that same pothole that I had 5 years ago when I elected you, and it got a little worse. But the pothole is still there. That's our problem. We keep voting for the same people to do the same thing over and over again. So having said that, let's look at what happened in the General Assembly.
Let's talk about
in the last week.
Let's talk about it.
You know, the in the General Assembly, you know, in Raleigh, the executive branch vetoed 14 bills. 8 of those 14 bills, you know, some of them on the Senate side, some on the House side, you know, was party line votes are there. But it takes this on the House side, they had 71 votes. Okay. And they needed just one Democrat to cross over.
Mm-hmm.
And they got that to override 8 of those vetoes. But one, I mean, it's just after that vote, they had a caucus meeting. And we have what you call, you know, the Capitol Police, you know, and one member was told, you need to shut up and sit down. They had to escort that representative out of the caucus meeting because the Capitol Police would have come in, if you understand what I mean.
Right.
Okay.
It's about to go down.
So you see, so what I'm saying, and even one member received a unique language from the chair. So what I'm saying, if it continue along the path that it's going, then the governor is going to have a difficult time maintaining his veto, because these individuals are tired of the way the party have been treating them. You know, just like one gentleman I talked with yesterday. He said, does it make sense for me to vote for a sex change, you know, for a person serving 20 years of life?
Right. What do you need to change your sex for?
He said, he explained it to me, you know, that he said, does it make sense for me to vote for a bill? Does it make sense for me to have my child to have these kinds of things early on in life?
Right.
that the bill. And then
But Mr.
another
Floyd,
one
that's
was,
the whole point that I'm trying to make, and I hope that our guest doesn't feel like we jumped on him because that wasn't my intention. But
no,
this
no, no,
is,
no.
yeah, because this
I
is
mean,
near to my heart. But Mr. Floyd, that's the point I was trying to make when I said the reason that like you're having a hard time selling this to me, and I'm
hmm,
politically astute, and it doesn't track for me because it doesn't make sense. Because
well,
literally, what you're saying is we want to shift which pocket you're in.
the same people that he indicated that's going to be out front, are the same people that's creating the problem that we
In the
have
back,
now. I mean, I mean, when you look at it, and what gets me is that you, Madam Waddell, tell me that you're gonna fight for me,
right,
and you've been discriminated against. You didn't get any money. You
right,
didn't get any funding. Yeah,
right.
you was somewhat overlooked
Mhm.
because the governor announced someone prior to you as one of those persons. So these are the same people that you're gonna put out front. I don't see any difference. Okay, I don't see.
Right.
And my thing of it is, I'm already at a poverty level in the tier 1 community, and you want me to give $10 a month. Other words, Teach, there is a concern about the way that they treat the African American community.
Mhm.
It's just like with the former governor announcing that he is going to run for the U.S. Senate. So when you look at
But
2020,
Mr.
Teach,
Floyd, wait, Mr. Floyd, wait. Let me say
yeah,
this:
yeah, no,
he raised $3.4 million in his first 24 hours. So if we're talking about being bought and paid for, who were those donors?
well, you see, Teach, now that's one aspect of that. Okay, so when you look at that part that he is talking about, okay, when you look at 2020, uh, you know, the governor then support the ticket. Okay, when you look at Sherry Beasley, there was little support for Sherry Beasley. When you look at the 24 election, under the North Carolina Pact that look at council of state, when you primary individuals, and when you announce a candidate prior to, and then you come to our community and tell us who you want to serve as your representative, then tell me, Madam Waddell, why should I spend any money in your community to help get reelected of the $3.4 million that you just mentioned? Because you're gonna vote if it has a D in front of your name, you're gonna vote
And
anyway.
that's what we are trying. That's why we're here, is to begin to educate the people who are watching our program as to how you really vet what is happening in the political arena. Let me say this, Mr. Floyd, and this is not for the purposes of campaign, but I do want to make this clear. My husband and I had a talk before I committed to this position, okay, to run for office. And I asked him, how do you feel about us funding this campaign ourselves? Because, Mr. Floyd, we have so many issues with ethics and transparency in our community that I do not want to come in as mayor elect with that riding in behind me. And my husband looked at me and he said, let's go. And let me tell you why I feel that way. Floyd, if you don't believe, and I remember you told me, and I'm not gonna say the number because that's your business, and you can say it if you want to, but you told me how much you put into your campaign, and I respected that because if you don't believe in you, how can you expect for anybody else to? And Larry and I are doing okay. We're doing all right. We're not the Rockefellers, but we're doing okay. I don't want to take money out of anybody's pocket to pay for an ad, to pay for, and so there's a lot of stuff, Floyd, you just probably won't see me do because I'm not trying to spend $100,000 to get this job. I want to touch people. I want people to ask me their questions. I want to earn the vote like that. So
Well,
Floyd, I'm following in your footsteps. Thank you for setting a good example.
well, when I filed we had a campaign report we do. I think it was the 25th of this month. 25th of this month, 22nd or 25th, and it had one of the reports that had a loss, you know, whatever you call it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And on that report, you can go back to the Board of Election, and you can see that I have $39,000 that I can't collect. That's over a period of 12 years that I have put in my campaign. More than that now. Some
Listen,
of it I
Mr.
was
Floyd.
able to pay back, but $39,000 lost. Okay, that I wanted to serve the people of Cumberland County,
Yes.
and I lost $39,000.
But you lost your money. You didn't lose anybody else's
Yes,
money. That's
yeah.
right.
And
And
that was
that's
my
how I
look at
feel.
my
That's how I
report. Look
feel.
at my report, and you will see that in there.
That's how
So
I feel.
it's
We are a tier
it,
one community. Why are we expecting in a tier one community for
well,
other people to put their money into something where they're not going to get a return from it?
well, well. I'll give you an example. Okay, when I lost my race, uh, you know, a person came in. This is one, and they was able to raise a large sum of money from those groups that out there, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
And like when Senator Val Applewhite, when she ran,
Yeah.
uh, you know, I think that she raised a little over $1.4 million.
Can you
Okay,
imagine what that money could do for your community?
I mean, but you got to look at where the money come from. So where the Legion are going to be for this person that won the race? The
Right.
Legion, like he just mentioned, that's going to be to those donors.
You owe
And
them.
and,
Yeah.
and when I went and what he said in the beginning, teach up front, when I uh, uh, came to Raleigh, there was a representative that sat down and talked with me, in a conversation. He was
Yeah.
of the other party. He said, "Now, if you help me when I running, as the
I'll
gentleman
help
mentioned,
you. Yeah.
you got direct access to me. You got direct
Yeah.
access to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you help me when I win, this is my LA phone number.
Yeah.
If you don't help me at all, then what I provide is good government to you."
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And Mr.
So
Floyd,
we
he
don't
threw
understand
off
that.
our whole show, sir, because we had a whole lot of other topics to cover. But I think we probably going to have to hit on some of them next week. But I'll tell you what, this was a good conversation. So this guy this Dr. Click that you pulled in today, good call, sir. Good call. Now you
No,
know next. Go ahead.
no, I mean the fact of it remains, it's a good cause, see, but you can't ask people to buy in. Well, I just leave it out. I'm glad he came on the program.
Me too.
I think, yeah, Mashiach out of Charlotte, talked with me about what he was trying to do, and asked me if I would bring him on the podcast, so in that other
Yeah.
people can see his initiative and what he's
And I
trying
do
to do.
want you guys to go and look at what he's doing because I want you to form your own opinion, but I want you to form it based upon your constitution and not the representation that we're giving or that he's giving. Go and research and see if it lines up with what you like. Now, Mr. Floyd, next week, you one of the things that we tend to do during the election cycle is we tend to talk about the election cycle. It makes it difficult with me sitting here as a candidate for mayor. And so I said, well, look, I want to give up my seat next week because I want you to be able to have this conversation with somebody in our community. And I want y'all to be able to have it no holds bar, say what you need to say, and not feel like I'm sitting hovering. So next week, I will be watching though, just so you know. Probably not, though. Probably not. So next week we're going to have Mr. Wade Fowler, former city councilman and former PWC commissioner, come onto the podcast, and he's going to sit with you, and you guys are going to have this conversation and talk it out and see what y'all say about what's going on in this election cycle. I will be here only for the introduction, and then I'm gonna go find me something else. I'm gonna get back on the phone and call some voters and reintroduce or introduce myself and try and gain some support in this election. But Mr. Floyd, I'm glad you're willing to do that with Mr. Fowler. I told him, I said, when I made the suggestion that I give up my seat, I think very quickly you said, well, call Wade. And I said, too easy. So we're going to have that happen. Is there anything else you want us to touch on before we wrap today? I know we talked about the Cape Fear Valley.
Mhm.
We talked about Roy
But I'm
T.
proud
Biv.
of that. I'm proud of that part because as we exit, that's what I want to X on this, Tish. That's the role of a representative,
Yes,
is to bring back resources of the money that you send to your
yes.
community back to your community as much as you can.
And
So
when you implement something and you see it continue to grow, you know you did a good job. And I'm gonna tell you something that I see at the city that keeps blossoming, and that's this home ownership program. And Mr. Flood, I'm just gonna raise my hand and say that started from one meeting that I took at a bank downtown. They gave us a $50,000 check. I came to the council with the proposal for what to do with that check that they had given us. It was implemented and it continues to grow. Good ideas keep growing even when you're gone.
yes, yes,
They
yes,
keep
yes.
growing even
So
in your absence. What you want to leave our people with today, sir?
yeah, I just wanted to leave with my dog. If he brings that bone to you, he's going to carry that bone. And in this upcoming election, please, 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 don't be pimp. You know,
Don't
don't be
be pimped.
pimp.
Don't be pimped.
That's what I want to leave you with.
That's
Look at
good.
all
That's
the can.
good.
Look at all the candidates. Look at all the candidates and see what kind of food that they're gonna provide for my dog.
That's good. Don't be pimped. And all
Yeah.
I want to say is the same thing that I've been saying, and I'm gonna stay right on this until the Lord shifts me. There is no justice apart from righteousness. If you want justice, you must pursue righteousness. I love you guys. Remember to like, share, subscribe, follow. Mr. Floyd, like we always say, tell a friend to tell a friend, and we will catch you on the next episode.